Hey guys, today I am doing a little page in my traveler's notebook using the November Life Crafter kit from Citrus Twist. Now I've got this photo that I kind of took on a self-timer of me working at my craft desk. It was a really poorly lit photo, so I've had to highly edit this. I just did it on my iPhone in a color story. But it is highly edited. So I'm kind of just going through the papers that I've got left in my kit to see what sort of colors or whatnot are going to suit this photo. And what I've landed on is I love that little wood grain strip. And something teal behind it, I think. Shocking, I know. I've got a darker one and a lighter one, and the other thing that I knew that I wanted to use from this kit was some of these florals. I haven't used any so far, so I definitely wanted to use them. I've just gone through that die cut pack, that huge die cut pack, and pulled out all of the florals. Now I'm definitely not going to be using all of them, but I wanted to pull out all of them so that I could choose which ones I wanted to use. In the end, with the darker wood grain and all of those florals in my photos, I decided to keep the background a little bit lighter, so I'm going to go with that lighter teal. I mean, if you want, we can call it mint green rather than teal. It's definitely a little bit on the greener side of teal. And then I used my We Are Memory Keepers banner punch board to just punch out a little fishtail on the end of that strip. You could 100% just use a pair of scissors to do that, but I have that punch board, I never pull it out, so I decided to do so today. Now I'm kind of just working out where everything's going to go. You can see me testing out these florals. I love all of them, really, but I kind of want to keep it to the cooler toned pinks. So I'm not adding any of those peachy yellow flowers, just keeping the cool toned pinks. And I am going to add a few little leaves as well. Now, before I go ahead and start sticking everything down, I wanted to add a little bit of texture to this background piece. So I went and ran that through my sewing machine. It still has some pink thread in it from a previous project. So I just did it in pink. It kind of works with the color scheme. And then as well as the stitching, I did rough up those edges with my Tim Holtz distressing tool. Now I'm going to adhere everything down on top of this background piece, so I want to make sure it is kind of adhered nicely. I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape. Actually, I'm going to use a lot of double-sided tape just to make sure that stays stuck. And then I'm going to adhere that so it's centered on my page, but it's right at the top. I haven't trimmed down the little wood grain banner piece yet. I want to stick everything kind of together first so that I know how large I actually need to make that. I don't want it to take up too much room. So you can see me, I lightly adhered those florals just to the photo, and then I can work out where everything else is going to go before I trim down the wood grain piece. If it's too long, it wasn't going to give me enough room to have the floral at the bottom, but if it's too short, I need to be able to fit this floral cluster at the top and my photo with that floral overhanging at the bottom. So I've marked out with my nail, just use my finger to work out where to trim that, and then again I'm going to use a reasonable amount of adhesive to make sure that this stays stuck down. And I'm going to stick that again at the top so it's overlapping some of that stitching, and then I can go ahead and adhere this last little, it's not really a set of florals, it's a flower and a leaf. I can go ahead and adhere that down and then finally get around to adhering my photo, which is now a little bit of a cluster with those other two florals. So I've got heaps of layers on this page, but it is still all super flat because everything is really flat, which I do like in a traveler's notebook. I do like everything to be a little bit flat, but I want to add a tiny bit of sort of dimension in here. So I'm going to add a few little enamel dots. Now the left-hand side of my page is noticeably empty on this spread, and that's because I'm going to stamp a large title in here. So I'm going to pull out my favorite little Spencer outline alphas and some pink Catherine Paulette ink. I think it's called, I can't remember the name, sorry. And I'm going to stamp a large title on here. I have used this technique before, but because the sort of main visual element of this page is at the top right hand corner of my spread, I'm going to orientate my title to the bottom left hand corner of this spread. And so because of that, to make sure I have enough room to get all of this stamped in here, I did start at the very bottom corner and work my way across. When I've done this technique before on the right hand side of the page, I start on the left hand side as well. So it's just starting where you want it to finish, basically, so that you know you're going to have enough room to get your whole title in there. So my stamps are a little bit grubby, and so that very pale pink ink has a few little mottled effects on there because of those dirty stamps. So don't be like me, clean your stamps after you've used them. And so I don't mind that kind of variation. It's certainly not enough for me to try to find a way to fix it. It kind of just looks like slightly darker versions of pink, which is totally fine by me. Now, instead of doing traditional journaling or my usual kind of typewriter journaling, I'm going to use this tiny alpha sort of typewriter style alpha stamp from Citrus Twist. I have sped this up considerably because it did take a little bit longer than usual, but I just liked stamping. I felt like stamping today, so I've got this tiny alpha and it's perfect for this sort of really short journaling here. So that's why I trimmed down that pale and mint colored paper so that I would have enough room underneath here to stamp. I'm only going to stamp like 3 lines of text. If I had handwritten it probably wouldn't have taken up any less room. So it just gives me a little spot down here to stamp that journaling, I guess. It's kind of an extension of the title, to be honest. I did feel like the left-hand page was like a little bit too light. I love the color of ink. It is that really cool toned pink, but it's not, it's maybe not quite as dark as I had wanted it. The title kind of just fades into the background a little bit too much, and so I want to add a few little bits and pieces to this left hand side just to draw your eye to the fact that there is something there. So I started by adding a floral. I was a tiny bit conflicted about doing that because I've already got 3. I'm breaking my own rules today, so I'm going to add 4. I added another enamel dot, and I'm just going to add a couple more words up here. So this time I'm definitely adding to my title, but tying those 2 pages together just a little bit more than it was before. This was a super simple, fun, pretty, feminine page in my notebook, and I just love how it turned out. Keeping things flat and stamping my heart out and just really enjoying it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.